Thanks to the development of the microscopy that we just talked in the previous section, then there was the development of the cell theory. And now I'm going to talk about how the cell theory developed and how this one applied to all organisms. And of course, if you're reading the textbook, you can find that section here in the development of the cell theory. And I'm going to start showing you a video that I think that explains everything very well. If you want to look for the video, it's here. It's called The Wacky History of the Cell Theory, and I hope that you enjoy it.
Fast forward to the 1800s, where two German scientists discovered something that today we might find rather obvious, but helped tie together what we now know as the cell theory. The first scientist was Matthias Schleiden, a botanist who liked to study plants under a microscope. From his years of studying different plant species, it finally dawned on him that every single plant he had looked at were all made of cells. At the same time, on the other end of Germany was Theodor Schwann, a scientist who not only studied slides of animal cells under the microscope and got a special type of nerve cell named after him, but also invented rebreathers for firefighters and had a kickin' pair of sideburns. After studying animal cells for a while, he too came to the conclusion that all animals were made of cells. Immediately, he reached out via snail mail, as Twitter had yet to be invented, to other scientists working in the same field, and it was Schleiden who got back to him, and the two started working on the beginnings of the cell theory. A bone of contention arose between them, as for the last part of the cell theory, that cells come from pre-existing cells, Schleiden didn't exactly subscribe to that thought, as he swore cells came from free cell formation, where they just kind of spontaneously crystallized into existence. That's when another scientist, named Rudolf Virchow, stepped in with research showing that cells did come from other cells. Research that was actually, how to put it, borrowed without permission from a Jewish scientist by the name of Robert Remak, which led to two more feuding scientists. Thus, from teeth gunk to torquing off Newton, crystallization to Schwann cells, the cell theory came to be an important part of biology today.
So we're briefly touching this topic, and I want just to give you key points and summarize all the information from the video. So one of them is that there are a couple scientists. One of them is Robert Brown, that he used, as you can see here, plant cells, and here he identified the nucleus. Yeah. Also studying plant cells, we have Matthias Schilden, and here you can see a picture of him. And he found that plant tissues are composed of cells. And another key part of information was produced by this guy, Thomas Schwann, that he found the same conclusions, but for animals. So based on all this information, there were three key ideas that proposed the cell theory. The cell theory was postulated in 1839, and here you can see three key ideas that you can see in the long version of the video that I will show you in class. And the first thing is that all organisms consist of one or more cells. So for example, this dog, when you go and see the tissue in the microscope, you see that each one of those tissues have many cells. So if you have a prokaryote cell, a bacteria, you will have at least one cell. If you have a multicellular organism like this dog, it will have many cells. The second thing that the cell theory proposed is that the cell is the basic unit of structures for all organisms. So here you can see in that video that they show an example of a cell with multiple structures. In this case, it's a eukaryotic cell that has a nucleus. And finally, the third point that it was added in 1855 is that all cells arise only from pre-existing cells. So this cell produced this one, and this one emerged from this one emerged these ones, and from this one it emerged all of this one. Okay, so later in class we will ask the question, okay, so how the first cell appear? Yeah, the first one, how that happened, and we still don't know exactly all the questions, all the answers of that. We have many questions, but currently all cells arise from a pre-existing cell.